Elson Sangu lost her cool the moment she locked eyes with Birsen Altuntaş at the Gala, and what followed has the industry buzzing from set trailers to press rooms. You're watching Whispers of Turkish Stars, the corner of YouTube where the whispers get louder and the truths reveal themselves one breath at a time. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed, because tonight's story has layers: a glamorous premiere, an old wound reopened, and a silence that erupted into public words. The names at the center of it all are Elçin Sangu, her partner Barış Arduç, and veteran journalist Birsen Altuntaş. Since the premiere of Sleepyhead, peace has not returned. If anything, every hour seems to peel back more tension than the one before. Let's start at the red carpet, where the flashbulbs are brightest and the emotions are hardest to hide. The evening of the Sleepyhead premiere was supposed to be all velvet and victory. Elson glided into the room with that unhurried poise she's known for, the kind that hushes a corridor without a single word. Just a few steps behind her was Barış Arduç, cool but clearly alert, scanning the sea of microphones and screens. Among those waiting with notebooks and cameras was Birsen Altuntaş. When Barış spotted her, something changed. According to people who were close enough to sense the air shift, his expression tightened and his voice lowered in that controlled tone he uses when he wants a tense moment to pass quickly. Some say he gestured firmly for Birsen to move along. Others insist she stood her ground. Several staffers stepped in, ushering people to their assigned spots and smoothing what could have become an on-camera standoff. By morning, the internet had turned that brief, brittle exchange into an all-out debate. Some viewers claimed the journalist had crossed an invisible line just by being there. Others argued that it was a movie premiere and the press has every right to attend. But as anyone who's followed this constellation of names knows, the powder was laid long before that spark. The premiere only brought the older fire close to oxygen. This story goes back years, to the day a report surfaced that attached Barış's name to a difficult claim about his business affairs. It was not a small thing. It struck at reputation, something every public figure carries like a second skin. Elson and Barış publicly pushed back, saying the story did not reflect truth, and they filed a criminal complaint. The case didn't advance. The decision cited journalistic duty, and when the couple objected, that attempt, too, was dismissed. In the aftermath, Birsen Altuntaş took to social media and wrote words that stung anew. She said that justice had affirmed the work of journalism. For Elson and Barış, that sentence felt like salt rubbed into a wound that had never truly healed. Fast forward to the Sleepyhead premiere, and picture this. The journalist at the same gala as the couple whose trust in the press had been battered. Depending on who you ask, her attendance was either routine or intentional proximity. Fans whispered that she drifted too near. Others said she kept to her lane and it was simply a crowded space with too many cameras chasing too few inches. The truth may lie somewhere between a roped-off aisle and an unspoken boundary. Days passed, and then the silence broke. Elson posted a statement that read more like a page torn from a fevered journal than a PR line. She didn't name names, yet every word clanged in the room. She said a straight hand will not write on a crooked page, and that truth refuses to sit in stained palms. She wrote that sometimes the loudest voice belongs to the one who has taken something that is not theirs, because the quiet one still wrestles with conscience. She said that the cry of the hurt takes time to arrive, but it finds its address. She reminded everyone that a stone rests most heavily where it belongs. She closed with the idea that justice can seem to move slowly, but it never turns back. A poem, a warning, a wound. Everyone read what they wanted to see in those lines. It didn't take long for a stranger's comment to stir the embers again. On social media, one user implied that her tone dripped with pride and that perhaps the story had more beneath the surface than she let on. Elson responded in a flash, writing that not everything is as shallow as it looks from a distance and that assumptions made for sport are not the same as facts lived in private. The reply split her audience in two. One side cheered, calling it overdue. The other wondered if it was too raw, too sharp for someone who has long kept her cool. For those who have watched her for years, that burst of heat from Elson was surprising. For those who know how long she has held the line, it made painful sense. Behind the velvet ropes, there were whispers of a quiet strategy. People close to the production murmured that Elson had begun keeping a careful distance from certain corners of the press, not out of disdain but out of self-defense. During the Wakuku promotion circuit, rumor has it her team kept a close list of outlets and faces, trying to avoid collisions that might spiral. Ask Birsen about it and you'll get the steady reply she gives every time a star flinches at a lens: "We are doing our job." It's a sentence she has earned with years in the trenches. Yet the taste in the air suggests this isn't just about access or angles anymore, it's personal. One more rumor claims that a request for a protective order was filed after the premiere, turning a red carpet scuffle into a paperwork trail that sounds more like a serialized drama than a film launch. To read this as a simple grudge would mistake the pair at the heart of it. Elson is not a staple of scandal columns. She prefers understatement, even when the surface is churning. Her fans admire that she separates what she shows from what she guards. But when she believes a line has been crossed, she doesn't hide behind vagueness. This time, her language didn't just push back at a single report, it pressed on the question of what ethical journalism looks like in an era where clicks arrive faster than context. Words like truth, justice, and conscience don't sneak into a post by accident, they sit there like anchors. The aftermath has become a test case in the industry. Colleagues have taken quiet positions at the edges of the room. A few actors voiced support for Elson's right to speak without being hounded by past wounds. Others, just as carefully, said the press must be allowed to do its work without fear. Some who worked on the same project confided that the premiere's strain lingered even after the lights went down, that Elson looked composed but was carrying the weight of the evening in her shoulders. And then there is the strangest ripple of all: insiders say that for a time after the incident, Birsen avoided mentioning Elson by name, not because she lacked material but because a court's restraint required it. Imagine the most connected columnist in entertainment stepping around one of the brightest stars. If that's not proof of a fracture, what is? Where does this go now? In a perfect world, it would move toward clarity. Toward a room with fewer cameras and more listening, where a complaint could be filed and heard, a reply offered and weighed. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where footage is clipped, intent is guessed at, and everyone becomes a judge before the facts have even dressed for court. Birsen, for her part, carries the banner of press freedom. She believes questioning the powerful is the point, even when the powerful are beloved actors. Elson holds a different understanding of justice, the kind that protects from harm that arrives disguised as a headline. Between those two definitions sits Barış, who has always seemed more comfortable talking about characters than about himself. His presence at the premiere made it clear he won't stand back when lines feel crossed. That night, he wasn't a leading man but a shield standing in a narrow corridor. Now here's the part we love to untangle at Whispers of Turkish Stars: what is the truth under the noise? Perhaps both sides are looking at the same mountain from different faces. A journalist can stand on the principle of public interest and still misjudge the toll a story takes on a private life. An actor can live with grace and still be allowed a moment of fury when history comes knocking at the most public door. The internet calls for perfect reactions while forgetting that people are made of nerves, not steel. In Elson's case, the words she chose were clean and sharp. They reveal a woman fed up not with critique, but with the feeling of being misread on purpose. In Birsen's case, the certainty with which she points to journalistic duty shows a veteran who has been accused before and believes the work, as a whole, stands. Neither definition of justice will satisfy everyone. Some say the storm will calm once the next headline pushes it out of the feed. Others think it's now written into the shared history of these names, a cold current beneath every future encounter. As for Sleepyhead and Wikuku, their success will have to be measured not just in tickets sold but in how gracefully the team shifts the conversation back to the work. Even then, the shadow of that hallway moment may linger, the way a perfume remains after its owner has left the room. What about you? Do you think a journalist's presence at a premiere, after a published dispute, is a coincidence or a provocation? Was Elson's post a necessary boundary or a spark that lit a bigger blaze? Did Barış do what anyone would do for the person they love, or did the moment ask for more distance and less heat? At Whispers of Turkish Stars, we try to look at all sides without pretending we aren't human too. Our take is simple: there are rooms where the past should be acknowledged before it shows up uninvited, and there are stories that need less pageantry and more care. Whatever happens next, this chapter will be remembered as a quiet war carried out in statements, glances, and the spaces between them, a silent crisis powerful enough to rearrange seating charts and interview lists. The red carpet looked stunning that night, but the most dramatic path was the one that led from a flash of recognition to a line drawn in public view. It feels unfinished because it is. And maybe the only certainty we have is that justice, however you define it, walks in a straight line even when the crowd tries to pull it sideways. If you've been with us this far, tell us how you see it. Drop your thoughts below. Who was in the right, and what would you have done in that hallway? What did you hear in Elson's words? We'll be reading. This is Whispers of Turkish Stars, and we'll return with the story behind the next whisper, because the truth may begin softly, but in this world, it always finds a way to be heard. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and tap like so you won't miss what comes next. Until then, good night from us, and may the next premiere be remembered for nothing but the work on the screen.